So it's and Western Lane Ambulance District. Would you rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lauren, it threw me off.
I see those singers, they always got the. Holly, can you do a roll call, please?
Yes. Western Lane. Cindy Russell.
Here.
Linda Stent.
Here.
Adam Holbrook.
Here.
Vanessa Buss.
Here.
Mike Webb.
Here.
SFR and WLFEA Director is Lori Heppel.
Yes.
President
Present.
Dolia. David Carrillo.
Here.
Jim Polisi.
Here.
Keith Stanton.
Okay, sorry. So our first presentation is something that I enjoy doing, is recognizing our people when they do something fantastic, which happens a lot. But we wanted to recognize our own Wendy Sullivan, who is now certified. Certified as the community paramedic. Tell us a little bit about the certification.
So community paramedics are certified by the same board who certifies like paramedics and critical care paramedics. It's an international level certification. I took a 8-week accelerator course, which is normally taught in 12 weeks. So it was a lot of work. Community paramedics who are certified in some other countries are able to have their own practice. So in places like the UK, somebody who has passed this test would be able to start their own practice and be reimbursed by the government for seeing patients. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of primary care on top of what I learned as a paramedic. Some of it is things that I do every day in my job here, and some of it was things that I don't ever have the opportunity to do based on our population. But it was all part of the test. I was very lucky. I had a grant from rural Healthy Oregon, which paid for the entire class. It paid for an all-day review session down in Ashland the day before, and it also paid for the testing costs. So the district got a good deal. They gave us some study time every week and the trip down to Ashland to actually be there for the test. We had 2.5 hours to take the test. It was 135 questions. I'm really sure I got 4 of them right. And I don't know how many I did because they don't tell you if you pass. They just say, good on you. You're right. So I did learn a number of things that as I was going through, I'm like, oh, that's really useful. You know, a score for judging whether someone's going to get better for pneumonia or not. And I had just seen a lady with pneumonia who was like, oh, this is somebody that's going to need close follow-up, for example. And so I learned some tools that I actually use in this job, as well as a bunch of resources.
Cool.
So, thank you.
You have to be certified every so many years?
4 years.
4 years.
If I do my education hours, then I don't have to take the test again. Yes, my education hours and I have to take the test again.
So there's a couple new board members here. Just real briefly, what's a typical day for you?
So I typically come to work and look at what my schedule is, which patients I'm going to see that day. I go into their medical record to see why they were referred to me, what's going on. Were they most recently in the hospital, or were they most recently in the emergency department, or were they somebody that was referred by fire or ambulance staff? And refresh myself on what's going on with them medically and what my goals are for the visit. I write myself a little note sheet that I'm going to record visit details on. And then I just write up a schedule so that there's some record where I actually am during the day. I will go to my first patient, usually around 11 o'clock. It turns out I used to see patients as early as 9:30, and there were about 2 people in the entire district who'd like to be seen at 9:30. So now I work days that start later and end later so that I can see patients going as late as 5:30 in the afternoon. When I get to the patient, really depends, it's very individual on who the patient is. For example, today I saw a lady who had been in the emergency department who was completely overwhelmed by her medications. So I got there, she had brought all of her cardboard boxes of pill bottles and set them on the dining room table, and I went through and I'm like, that one's empty, that one's empty, that one's empty. You know, these are all full. Okay, these full ones, this one you're not supposed to be taking, this one you are, this one you're not supposed to be taking, this one you are. And so then I lined them all up and added some extra labeling, so the 6 bottles of medication A that she has, she knows, you know, when she uses one up, she doesn't think she's out. Then I set her up a pill box for the next week. And then we agreed on a time for me to come back so that she can set up her pill box. Then I came back and I wrote a chart that goes into her medical record that described what medications she had, what medications she didn't have, what she was doing differently. She was her provider was not in the Peace Health system, so some of her medications, although her list is mostly pretty accurate, the instructions were a little secrecy compared to what she was really doing. So got that and the chart for her primary care to see, and then finally scheduled her for another appointment because at this time Peace Health is still not doing any scheduling for me. And then I turn around and go do that again. I'm doing my own scheduling. I'm only seeing 2 patients a day because it turns out that I can't call patients before 9 in the morning or after 6 o'clock in the evening to schedule their appointments. I have to do it during a time when I would normally be seeing patients. So.
No,
So I served in a role at the hospital as a quality leader, and I want to guarantee that her position in our community single-handedly reduced the readmissions to our hospital. We had a huge focus on that. We had a multidisciplinary group that met every single morning with all kinds of folks, and she was the one we deployed to follow up with those patients that would return and return because of those exact reasons. So it is absolutely one of the best programs outside of WLFEA that we have in this community. So thank you for what you do.
absolutely.
You're very welcome. Right, and you know, I just described an emergency department patient, which are different every time. The hospital patients, my goal is always to not readmit within 4 weeks. So I try to say, you know, what's going on, and then I'm different from home health because I don't have to spend a whole visit evaluating what they need and writing up this complicated set of goals. I go in, I'm like, what's going on? And they're like, and so I sit down and we deal with the medications. And then we spend 5 minutes at the end, okay, what else do we really need to do? And we'll do that on the next visits. When someone has been calling the ambulance frequently, then I will also give referrals. Or I encourage our staff that they see somebody and they're like, oh, this is not going in the right direction, and we've only been once, but they need more resources than what we can do as an ambulance provider. Then I will go visit, have to go visit, and just figure out what's going on. You know, what are your barriers? Why is life this hard? And see who I can connect them with.
Is there enough going on out there to warrant a second one of you?
I would always love to do more than what I can do as a single person. Yeah.
Yes.
This is a joint effort between us and the hospital. We split the cost. So there is enough work. I don't know if there's enough money.
Do you think there's anything we can do to encourage the hospital administration to give you back a scheduler?
I'm not exactly, so the short answer of why there's a holdup is that the person who used to do my scheduling had a whole bunch of accesses and permissions of things she could do because of all the different roles she'd had at Peace Health. Going forward, Peace Health has just said, no, nobody can have extra access anymore. And there's nobody at the hospital who schedules appointments. So it has to be done by somebody at a clinic. And the clinic so far has mostly been saying, well, you're not really seeing that many referrals from us. So I started including, how many, what percentage of my patients have a local primary care provider, which is almost everyone. As well as which percentage of them have used EMS in the last month, which is not quite as many, but almost everyone. In the hopes to correct that misconception about who the patients are that I see. But I'm not quite sure, I haven't got any answer. I was told I would hear something right before I left to go do this testing. I was told there was a meeting, and I would hear something that day, and there wasn't anything, but I was going out of town, and then, anyway, I never heard. Matt's done a couple of emails, he hasn't heard. I'm not sure what the holdup is.
I remember when the program first started, and, I've forgotten the gentleman's name that was doing that job before you.
Chris?
Chris, he used to have like a quarterly meeting, and it drew together the CEO and the palliative care doctor at the time, and different heads came together and they were able to report on what you were doing and how you were, doing the job and stuff. Do they have any of those meetings anymore like that?
No, there was a morning meeting that when I first started was called Chris's meeting. And the discharge planners, and at that time, that was how referrals were made, is the discharge planners and the transitional care nurses would meet and decide which patients in the hospital needed or could benefit from MIH. Since that time, we've created a actual referral form in the record so that doctors, nurses can refer patients to me the same way they would refer somebody to ortho if they were having knee trouble, which is good. And that meeting sort of, Peace Health took over that and started using that meeting for care management priorities, and it's stopped being relevant to me. So I stopped going.
I think it was more of a statistics of you saw X number of patients, this number were readmitted.
So
this
my
number wasn't.
statistics, in addition to getting I report them to Matt, and I believe he brings up to this board every month because it seems to be a trigger when he's getting ready for his meeting. He's like, did you send me those? I also send them to Natalie Johnson, who I think is probably, I have trouble keeping track of whose job description, and Susan Blaine, who's community health for Peace Health over in. And so they get those same numbers, and I'm not sure exactly what they do with them. They always say, thank you for.
Who knows? Thank
So
you.
I got two more questions. I'll share.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
You obviously need to take vacation a year, right?
Yeah,
So who is your backup when you go on vacation?
so there's no backup.
Oh, that's not
And then let me qualify that, there's nobody to do my job if I'm on an extended leave, there's nobody to actually do everything that I do. While I was taking the class, I had asked, the members of WLFEA to do some things for me. And so not do initial visits with patients. However, I do some fall assessments for patients who have come to the ED who have fallen, and patients over 65. And those are tests that are very clearly written out by the CDC, how to do those tests, that any EMT or above can do. And so a couple members will go out and do those tests, so I didn't get behind. And I normally do 2 visits, one where I do the tests and another with some education. So they would just go do the tests, and then I could just have 1 visit with a patient later. Or go check on patients. They went and checked on a couple of patients that I had to see how they were doing and make sure that they weren't falling through the cracks, because I wasn't able to visit them as often as I would have wanted to. There's 1 or 2 paramedics who will go like check patient meds. So for example, if I had to leave unexpectedly tomorrow, there's somebody who might be willing to go help this lady that I saw today with her meds. But that's, somebody who has interest in this and is willing to,
Sure.
it's not something that a paramedic normally does and set up a pillbox for somebody. And those people don't have access to the medical records, so they can't chart it. I have to chart when I get back whatever they did. yeah, if I got hit by a truck. You guys wouldn't have a program.
So what other EMS districts in the state of Oregon have community paramedics?
So the best one is at Mercy Place. They have a large group, somewhere between 5 and 10. People on their staff of their group. It's supported by Mercy Place. They have contracts with their local Oregon health plan groups. They seek out patients in the hospital. They're operating in a metropolitan area. So they have a variety of resources. You know, they typically will go interact with a patient in the hospital, find out that they don't have a primary care, and so they help set them up with a primary care and other kinds of contacts, whereas Peace Health is doing all that for itself here. There isn't a call for that kind of work. But they have certainly the biggest and the best program. There are other programs up in the Portland area that focus on opioid use.
Yeah, those are the street units. that
And they do amazing work as well, but it's a little bit different focus than what I do. I don't know if there's anybody who has, I like to describe my job, I get to visit old people at home and just hang out with them. And nobody else has a job that's quite that fun, but.
Has the agency ever done any kind of community outreach on the local radio station about your services?
Yeah, I've been on the local radio station on Coast Radio twice, in the last, has it been 5 years? 5 years,
I mean, that's something that should probably be ramped up a little bit.
yeah.
And does Oregon Health Authority have any funding available for another Wendy?
Not that I know of. Everyone that I know that has funding is either getting it from grants, from a hospital, or they're working with an insurance company. And I don't know, I mean, I did get my community health worker to make it a little bit easier to bill. There is legislation that's being considered that will pave the way for billing by community paramedics and the things that we do.
I mean, common sense would be with the staffing shortages in the hospital, there should be definitely more to keep people out.
Everyone wants to fund it.
What's that?
Everyone wants to fund it.
Well, because I believe that there's been mismanagement of state funds.
Yes, or recognition of the work.
That's correct. Your education.
Well,
The squeaky wheel gets the oil, right?
if we could start billing Medicare and Medicaid, that would.
That would get me. So how does Mercy fund their program?
They have contracts, and so when a patient is on service and they get paid a sort of a flat amount for that patient for every week that they're, or every, I'm not sure, at whatever unit at a time that they're on service. And then they have a list of services that they provide. They've also been able to create an EMR so that it's very easy for them to just check off, well, we gave an air filter so that they will reduce their allergy symptoms because now they have a filter that's taking their air in their home. You know, and they have grants to give away a whole bunch of different things. You know, scales and blood pressure cuffs are probably things that I don't have a lot of that I could give away occasionally. You know, I saw somebody yesterday that I could have given a scale to if I had one. But on the other hand, I had a scale in my car for about a year before before I found somebody to give it to.
So when you mentioned on contracts, so the self-pay, are they able to bill Medicare and Medicaid for their services?
So in that case, I think it's the Oregon health plan that's paying them directly. So they're not billing the patient. They just have this contract that says, you know, when you find patients that are on our insurance and meet this criteria, then we'll pay you. And I'm not sure, you know, obviously they've got quality measures to meet that. I could certainly provide the contact information for their program managers, the same gal who's the president of an MIH coalition that created this class that I took. So, and yeah, one of her secret plans is to create, to replicate some of the things from that class and provide education, which would then provide continuing education for for some of us. Teaching background.
What can we do as board members to support this and get it going even further? I mean, do we do a study session and brainstorm and think, hey, how many Kaiser patients are in our district? Contact Kaiser and say, hey, how would you like to get involved in this?
I think we're more in a supportive role. This has to be hospital driven, I think, at this point. We can
Because that's who
certainly
they're-
drive.
Can we?
Yeah, that's who they're, she's primarily serving is people from the hospital.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, I think from them, but I think out of, 45 patients, 43 of them will have used EMS in the last.
Sure.
They
And
are ambulance patients and they are members of our ambulance and fire district, right? They refer. Yeah, that's right. Other colleagues refer as well. So there, and I go there in my Western Lane uniform and they say, oh, the guys who came and picked me up for salt time.
so your functions reduce our, I don't want to say that they're necessary calls, because they're not. They're necessary calls, but with you seeing these patients being, you're on the proactive side versus the
Right.
reactive.
It's
side.
One of the things that happens when I go see a hospital patient is I tell them this is a free service that Western Lane and Peace all work together to provide. And so they know that Western Lane is looking out for them and it reminds them why they want to have a public ambulance district. For the ambulance, the people that are referred who are calling the ambulance very often, I can many times find a way for them to connect better and not have to call so often. Again, while reinforcing that the ambulance cares about them, right? Yes, the crew that responded, that's all they can do is, take them to the hospital or leave them home.
Right.
But I have a little bit more time to spend and figure out what's going on. So I guess I disagree that the patients I see come from one place, they might be referred from the hospital or they might be referred from EMS, but they are patients that are patients of all of us. And so working together as a team, and these are also patients of the local insurers, right? These are patients that I am saving insurance companies a bunch of money on.
Absolutely.
And so trying to figure out how to make that work. I'm not an admin person, my brain wants to explode when you even talk to me about insurance rules.
Chief, is there any way that board members, I mean, we've got some very talented people working at the doctor, RN. Can we, and I mean, Dave was in the field, can we meet with the P-cell
Oh, yeah.
powers to be and say, hey, this is a proven project?
I think they are 100% supportive of the project. I mean, that's not the issue. It's just,
But getting the funding, I get that.
and
Getting
we
the
put,
insurance to recognize it too,
Yeah.
right?
that would be huge.
But
Yeah,
you can feel like you do need to.
Sure.
Bill for the service.
Save the insurance
exactly. That's what we're
company.
waiting for. Same with Wilker, but,
You gotta
So, yeah.
convince the insurance companies is what
Get
they
the
want,
insurance companies on
and
board.
it is.
Yeah.
But we just have to educate them,
So
you have to educate the insurance companies. How it'll pay off for
Right.
them, because they'll want it.
so her support from the hospital comes from their foundation, not from the actual hospital.
Not from
I
P-cell.
mean, they're part of the hospital, so it's, and we have, that's renewed every year, so.
Yeah, so that's community money, basically, that's
Sure.
supporting half of the program.
And they've been great about, I mean, it's been consistent, but.
Yeah.
Wendy, how many people in the state have the certification you just got?
Not very many, I think we had around 15 pass, and we more than doubled the number of CPs in Oregon.
And how many MIHs in the state,
How many programs in the state?
MIH programs? So there's 15 out of 60 people or?
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think half a dozen of us that regularly come to those coalition meetings, and that's not necessarily all of the programs, but those are the programs that I'm familiar with. Our email list of people who are interested is like 100 times that long. So there's other groups that use the kind of, like the hospital at home movement, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, there's a company that's trying to do that. So there's some sort of related things that use the same qualifications as well.
Well, I know your service person. You saw my white.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, what you did was incredible. Thank you.
Very, very glad for the opportunity.
Any more questions for Wendy? Thanks, Wendy.
See if we can get her on the road with the certifications she got.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So we have another presentation, our very own Wilker group.
I'm Melissa, I'm the program manager for Western Link Crisis Response. This is Camille, she's my assistant manager, and we just wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you a little bit about our program and what we've been doing. We've been actively engaging the community and doing presentations about awareness, and we wanted to do a really shortened version for you guys because I know you have a lot to talk about tonight.
We can go to the next slide.
Yeah, thank you. So Western Lane Crisis Response is a grant-funded program. And we're very fortunate to operate under Western Lane Fire and EMS Authority. They're very supportive of us. We started as a pilot program in 2019 with just a small group of responders. And we provide crisis de-escalation, peer support services, resources. Calls when we first started were around 10 a month, and right now we're averaging around 60 a month. So over the last year, our program has seen a tremendous amount of growth. We've been awarded a few grants, which has allowed us to hire 3 new full-time client advocates and a full-time outreach coordinator and a full-time youth client advocate, which works with youth at the Boys and Girls Club. She's actually done an amazing job with Mapleton High School and Vegas Hall High School, breaking down some barriers and getting us in there. A lot of our client advocates work to follow up and provide additional resources, stay involved with them as long as they need to, and make sure all of their needs are being met. Our outreach coordinators' goals are to work with frequent utilizers of the 911 system to make sure that they're getting proper services, they're going to appointments, they're taking their medications, whatever needs to happen in order to make sure that they're on a better path and they can take care of themselves eventually and keeps them out of the hospital. So a lot of prevention that we work for.
Next slide, please. So what is a crisis? We believe that there is no definition of a crisis. If I'm gonna just point you out, Vanessa, if you're having a mental health crisis and Jim, you're having homeless issue, we're not gonna just say, I'm sorry, we can't help you. Anything is a crisis. We wanna make sure everybody in our community is being taken care of. If they're visiting, if they're locals, everybody. On that note, we have really kind of opened up and started doing presentations at the middle school, high school, and we've got an assembly going to the middle school in June. And then we have Mapleton, we're doing a big Mapleton assembly for the whole Mapleton school, and that's in July. So we're doing a lot of things. We've done library presentations, we've done classroom presentations, just trying to get kids to know about our program and that we have a youth client advocate available. And trying to figure out what can we do to help get them on a better path and maybe giving them some coping skills or finding out if they're having issues with not having food at home. So we got a few resources, or we've got some questionnaires back from them and saying like they want to learn about Narcan and overdoses. So we have those assemblies scheduled to give them that information and help make sure that we can prevent them from having those issues. We went to the job fair today. We're just trying to bring more activities out to our community so they know about us and see our pretty faces. Go ahead and go to the next slide.
So, I don't know if all of you know, but, Florence actually has the highest rate of suicide in the state. And recently we have seen a huge uptick in the amount of youth suicide and mental health challenges as well. We have a large population of aging adults, veterans, and low-income individuals, many of them with mental health challenges, which result in a significant portion of 911 calls. Many of these calls result in excessive and expensive intervention by law enforcement, fire, and EMS, such as ER visits, hospitalizations, or incarceration, with little or no follow-up care to interrupt that cycle. As a result, our community spends more than needed on suboptimal care for those in distress, which then results with more people in crisis situations. All leading to an expensive and unhealthy cycle, which we all end up paying for. Crisis responders are trained to provide more in-depth assessment, support, resources. We can stay on scene longer and offer follow-up services. So it's beneficial to our community members and cost effective when crisis teams are able to relieve first responders to deal with other types of emergencies and urgent calls.
We'll go ahead to our next slide. So what is our training like? Well, we go to peer support training, we have community health workers. We have qualified mental health associates, which just means that we've gone to schooling to better ourselves and get more training. We get all training in crisis interventions, de-escalation, suicide assessments, drug and alcohol, lethal means. I mean, I look for every type of thing, and then Oregon Health Authority requires us to get all sorts of training on top of that too. But what makes it more personable when we're on scene is that we've all dealt with something in our past or in present, either mental health or drug and alcohol related. So that really kind of gives us a bond to our clients.
Okay, next slide.
How do you contact us? Well, you call 911 or you call the non-emergency 997-3515. Anybody can request from EMS, fire to anybody on the street. You just call non-emergency or emergency. If you see somebody on the side of the road and you just think that they need the assistance, call. Day, night, 24/7. We always have 2 people on shift. Either can respond in person or by phone. Oh, and we respond to Florence, Mapleton, Swiss Home, Deadwood, or Dune City.
Question. Do you folks ever get calls from Oregon State Police, Sheriff's Office,
Oh, yes, all the time. Yeah,
hospital?
Yes.
All the time.
yeah,
Justice Center.
yeah.
And how many personnel hours do you think those 3 entities?
We could probably fill, if we had a full-time sheriff deputy, we could probably fill it with all, like the calls, mental health calls. Cause they don't call us all the time.
Thank you. Interesting.
Any other questions?
No questions for Wilbur.
So the third bullet, on the last slide, where it says, the law enforcement is required to respond with Wilker to all calls outside the city limits.
Yes.
So when you say that, is that, including Mapleton, Swiss Home?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah, anything else?
anything outside of Lawrence, we have to, that's an Oregon Health Authority regulation too, we have to respond in person with 2 qualified team members. And with law enforcement. Once we get there though, our goal is diversion. We want to be able to relieve law enforcement, fire and EMS from scene as soon as we can. They're just there for our safety. A lot of times the client isn't comfortable with law enforcement being there, so we just kind of have them stay off to the side until we make sure that the scene is safe. But another part of that is only crisis responders are able to relieve law enforcement from the scene. Can't be fire, EMS, or anybody else. So it has to be one of the qualified team members that determines they're safe enough to be there without law enforcement.
And the reason that we have that is because it's so hard to get them back if something were to hit the fan for us. We may be able to get off the scene safely, but
it's just more of a protection for us.
And in Florence, the FPD is local and pretty much right there, willing to come as fast as they can whenever we have a problem.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Lane County gets their funds from Oregon Health Authority,
Yes.
so Lane County then disperse to us. Who else has you folks in this county?
Who else
So what do
has?
you mean? Joel?
Well, I think the Eugene Springfield Fire had,
Oh.
Lane Fire Authority.
So crisis response is actually a federally mandated program that's come down to the states, which the states kind of put that pressure on the counties. So the county created, well, they're all mandated, but Cahoots is sort of similar to us, but technically they didn't have a contract with Lane County. They're working on that at the moment, but it's not finalized right now. We were one of the first ones with Lake County to have a rural crisis response program. And at the moment, there is somebody named Sarah that's working on other rural responses because they have to have a crisis team in all pockets of the county.
So we're the only fire and EMS authority
We
chief
are
that has.
only one.
Row.
And we will continue to be the only ones that operate this way. We're a very unique rural crisis response team. And very ahead, very ahead of the game.
We're being modeled on too.
Very,
So that's pretty awesome.
A lot of pressure.
very
but it-
impressive.
Yeah.
So I want to share too, so because of my other roles and I've experienced within my age, the incredible work these teams do. When I got my roles at Boys and Girls Club,
Mhm.
I wanted to get a grant to bring this resource to our kids. And so we applied, through, the state, and we got $125,000 to hire a youth client advocate, somebody specific for youth only.
That's very good.
And it happens to be my mom, but and she's amazing. And she's amazing.
Yeah.
But you talk about barriers and having resources. I mean, she's been enrolled since September 1st, maybe, and maybe really hit the floor in December, January, maybe. Maybe. We have connections and referral processes with the hospital. We have the processes with Wilker and the police department. She just got into the schools. Like having physical conversations about allowing us to have conversations with them about the youth that we're serving, because nobody was letting us in before. And it's incredible, and she gets to go sit, when you have a suicidal ideation, she goes in and helps relieve hospital staff, so she can sit with the kiddo and talk about things and help them. So the work across the board is, I mean, we're doing far above what any other community would ever be.
And
And
Mapleton,
we've had youth take their own life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
we, even in Mapleton, who has less resources than we do in Florence, the youth client advocate has been able to, get a new
She connected, so I told her Mapleton is
contract.
is a pretty significant beast up there. I mean, it's something to behold.
They have,
So she was reaching out to them and going to talk to them, and she's a researcher. Like my team actually makes fun of, like, your mom sits on that computer all day looking at things. She does that. But she found this resource, which is Hoots, and it's for youth. And it's a paramedic and a nurse. And so she told them about it. And so they applied for a grant and they got it. And it's $82,000 to pull this resource to support their community and their kids.
That's great.
So she's, I mean, it gives me goosebumps, like there's a connector that's doing work that the rest of us don't have time to do.
Yeah.
And it's necessary work. And if you start young and an intervention there, you're gonna stop a lot of things that these guys are seeing on the streets. So it's just too bad nobody wants to fund it.
Yeah, well, that, again, you know,
saying.
they would rather pay for the aftermath mess.
Yeah.
Instead of, you know, taking care of it up front. I know I'm probably gonna sound stupid, but saying this, are there school nurses anymore?
Yeah.
No, sure.
We do have, Ion, who was on our team, he's a school nurse.
But that just happened not too terribly long ago.
That was within the last couple of years.
Yeah, usually it's just a person that fills that role, and it's just an aide.
Yeah.
But this person is an RN.
Yeah, and he was from the hospital.
could I get the last screen back, the last slide? Because speaking of funding,
And
so we were able to we are mostly funded by the Lane County grant, but we also got a 4-year SAMHSA grant, which is what allows us to have the client advocate and outreach coordinator. but it's only 4 years, so we're looking towards the future, already trying to determine, I don't know why it's looking like that. But, FAMSA grant requires us to do surveys whenever we engage with the community or do presentations like this, so there's a barcode. I don't know if you guys have it in your package.
It's behind the black hands.
Yeah, so if you guys, could take a few minutes and scan that and fill out a survey for us, that would be amazing. And I also wanted to share a little bit about Western Lane Crisis Association. Since we are part of WLFEA, we aren't a nonprofit. We needed to be able to apply for a larger variety of grants, do some fundraising. So we went after our own 501c3 and created Western Lane Crisis Association. I'm really excited about it. We have a lot of things planned for kids and families, a lot of fundraisers, and we're hoping that eventually this could be what helps sustain us in the future.
That's good. That's great.
And we do have an account with Oregon Pacific Bank if anybody wants to donate.
Applications for this.
We haven't gotten that far. Yeah, but yeah. We are looking for a couple more members for the association as well. If you know anybody that's interested, and we're always hiring part-time instructors.
Yeah.
Within the association meeting on the second Monday of every. At 4:30 here. Yeah.
Hey, this is really cool. Thank you.
Would you like the barcode?
I just scanned it on my phone.
Oh, here's the barcode.
Oh, right.
And what do we do?
This is, a survey.
Yeah.
You're getting in your bank account.
Yeah.
It's too bad that they have a disagreement rather than.
Yeah, chief, I'm just curious,
Oh, but, okay.
because the ultimate goal of the two districts eventually to come together. Right? Would Wendy's program that she's doing could get it some time down the road because she's proactive, you're proactive? Would there make sense to put them together?
We have talked about that a lot.
I would like to be part of this.
We've talked about it a lot, but we haven't been able to come up with a plan to make it work, but.
You would have to pull away from Lane County under Oregon Health Authority regulations in order to do that, because they don't want the medical aspect in crisis response. Which is why Cahoots is having to do a contract and they're not settling on.
Well, I bet some of Wendy's clientele are people that probably have some
Okay.
upstairs related matter that need to be dealt with. And I think that Oregon Health Authority should really rethink what they
I agree.
do.
Yeah.
Because that's,
If you would like to write to Oregon Health Authorities, we would really appreciate this. They don't believe us.
local state rep here, I can't remember his.
Boomer?
But we need to get in front of that
Sure.
and share the word and what the work that's being done and the impact on the communities.
Do we know how to get a hold of Boomers? He's
Well,
pretty,
as a matter of fact, he was supposed to be here tonight, but he never got back to us, so.
does
We
he
are trying to
live
get it.
in our
He
county?
was great. He was our principal when we were kids.
He did not.
And his
He
wife-
lives here in town?
He lives in Reedsport.
He lives in Reedsport. His wife is a retired nurse from.
See that?
Oh, she finally retired?
So why don't we have a Saturday study session with him, we'll barbecue for him and cook?
Yeah, we did try to tonight, but he never got back to us. Cause we have
Because that's where the legislation can be
Yep.
channeled
and
up.
we have talked to him about this program before, and he's very supportive. But we need to follow up with him.
Well, he's running for re-election, get hold of his campaign office.
Oh, struck by the iron's hot.
Yeah. You wanna make a difference?
He's running out of posts, though.
Well, still, what about we can see why he's unopposed?
He's good. Thanks.
Thank you.
But we're trying to get him over here. He's been very supportive and he knows us, so. Again,
I'm just curious, does Douglas County have anything like that?
they are trying to get something like.
So wouldn't it be nice, because Reedsport is in Douglas County, that he would want to be
Yes,
you know,
yeah.
the champion of the coast.
So it's,
What's that?
it's good, good news. and
Thank you all.
bad news.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Good news and bad news, there's, everybody wants our program, but there's only so many dollars to spread around. So,
Money's there, it's just not being used.
right, exactly.
It's being used to patch up afterwards.
What's that?
Being used to patch up after.
That's right, that's right. Patch the hole after a ball goes through.
In time
But I look at it sort of, you know, in the seventies, fire department said, well, we better get into EMS.
That's
because
correct.
the future. Here right now, we've got to get into MIH and mental health. That's the future.
It really
to.
truly
Started
is.
where I came from, we have a PA that works for us. And he promoted actually because he couldn't get back into chief, of course.
Yeah,
But he was already a PA to get the MIH, and it makes a difference. I mean.
Yep.
It helps in so many ways. It helps, it keeps beds up at the hospital. It keeps our services available to help other people that are having emergencies. And people do believe, people call 911 for the simple reason that they're lonely. We've got calls all the time, and like she was the example she gave us with the, you know, organizing your meds. We went on lots of people that we helped them organize their meds, and then they decided they need to go buy ambulance.
yeah.
But it's very correct, it's a very good program, I agree 100%.
They were doing studies on this over, in the eighties, I was reading studies at the time of sending out an RN, a social worker, and at the time, a physical therapist to the homes for the frequent flyers, friendly faces, whatever you want to call them, in the ER. And they did a study on how much money the hospital saved. It came double for the salary of those three people to go to the homes and visit those people. So they've known about this, you know, this ability to cut the costs since the eighties. But here we are in
Yeah.
2024,
Yeah,
and there's
and
still
nothing
fighting.
is being,
So it's just,
That's
it's, like you
typical.
said, it's a matter of educating them,
Yeah.
of
I mean,
educating the big counters.
hey, California's known for 50 years that they have a urban wildland interface problem. And how many times you have to get kicked in the stomach to know that it hurts?
Yeah.
So look how many fires they had. And the trillions of dollars in economic losses. Because people don't understand that when a town burns to the ground like paradise, what happens? Schools don't get tax money anymore, garbage, I mean, it all has a domino effect. But they don't think that way.
Yeah.
They don't understand that the school districts lose SDI money.
Yeah,
Ounce of prevention.
That's right.
Sounds like we're not running on a boat anymore.
I don't think so.
I can't get in there.
No, God, I know. I'll be needing their help. Local health.
Hoover is a Republican, but I think, yeah, you're more conservative.
I'm an independent.
You can always put your name on the ballot.
Oh, no. Salem wouldn't like, I wouldn't survive in Salem.
We'll definitely try and get it.
That's right.
What's that?
We're definitely trying to get it.
Oh, I would love to see it.
Okay, moving on. Do we have any public comments?
No public comment?
No public comments. So consent agenda consisting of meeting minutes of regular meeting February 22nd. Minutes from regular meeting March 28th. Budget workshop minutes April 6th, budget workshop minutes April 4th, staff reports, correspondence. I think the February 22nd, we had to make a change, correct?
We did, and I just wanted to point that out. The change that was made was in between the two executive sessions, and the note is the executive session ORS 192.6602B was not read on the Zoom recording. The recording was not restarted due to the back-to-back executive sessions. Written minutes were taken at that point. I did bring a copy of the executive session minutes in case anybody wanted to read. But the second session was opened at 8:08 PM under the ORS 192.6602B. And then discussion ensued in regards to that item.
Okay, is there anything in the consent agenda anybody would like to take it out and discuss? Hearing none, the consent agenda is adopted. Monthly financials.
In the board packet on page 32. I just wanted to kind of point out, we finally today just made the budget adjustments. So under property and liability insurance, about midway in the page, where it shows us being over budget at 105.78. That $43,000 in the budget has been corrected now, so we are under that. That's the only real.
Any questions on the financial?
Western Lane Ambulance tax revenues, the tax base is like 101 or 102% of budget, but the tax levy is only 94 or something like that budget. Why the difference? Because you pay them both at the same time.
There, what we levy is not what we get.
But we're over on the face. And a special operation or special levy, we're under budget. So is it a budget calculation
So
or?
when the permanent levy is an estimate. We average about 3% increase. And so, and then we have to figure in the collection rate on top of that. So that's the difference. The funny thing about Lane County is that they don't split out the reports. We have to split that out manually, so we take that rate and split out those funds. And so there, you'll see that difference there because.
So that might be a Mather. So Mather, or my initial take was we may have under budgeted or over budgeted how much we're gonna get on the operating levy. But it is an interesting contrast because I think they'd be going at the same rate, and that would be a check figure. I've asked them to maybe adjust it so that they are showing the same recovery rate. Because if you pay your tax bill, you don't get a chance to differ.
Right, can't pay one, not the other.
I'm not gonna-
I have noticed that, but yeah.
So just a point of fact.
Yeah. Any other questions on finances? Okay, now I just, so next is old business, a building update. That's our admin building and remodel the station. I just handed out right for the meeting. This is the latest, just got it this afternoon from our architects. And we had a really interesting suggestion by a director is, why don't we put the admin building right on the west end of this building? I mean, connected, and it fits in very well. The size is just like it was made for that.
Well, it's just, well, this brings us into the parking.
Goes into the apartment.
Yeah,
So have to add on.
yeah. You should have, I gave you one.
I can sort of,
Yeah, plenty. I can put it under.
we'll share this camera.
So this is, so the plan, what you're seeing is the architect says, I said, just put the two-story building on there. So I mean, and they did that. I mean, we can adjust it, but it fits perfect. There's their two-story plan and it's right in there. We would lose some parking. And the city has a requirement for a minimum number of parking spots. So this plan is showing us purchasing the property to the west, which has always been, something that we've been talking about. And then if we didn't do that, we still have across the street that we could make into a parking lot.
I thought this land, the property just to our west was exorbitantly overpriced.
That's the Bolian.
I thought the one behind us.
We have not bought any.
Oh, okay,
And so that's not our only option. So we have other options.
yes.
Yeah, so if it's ridiculous price,
Because everybody holds out, just waiting to show up.
yeah. So we have this fantastic parking lot across the street that we can use. And plus the city discounts if you're on a bus line, you get fewer parking spots, which we haven't taken that into account. On-street parking, we can count, so, it's possible we wouldn't need that, but I think we will find out how much he wants for it. So we don't need that property, it's just a nice thing, so.
What are the benefits to attaching it to this building physically or, and potentially cost saving wise?
Cost savings would be, I think, pretty significant. We have to replace that west wall anyway. So we did that during this construction. So like the sprinkler system's in place. It would just be extending the sprinkler system. An elevator is in place. So we don't think we need an elevator in that building. Don't hold me to that. I mean, they'd have to use this elevator and then walk down this hallway.
Yeah,
As long as it's ADA
That's
compliant from the,
What's that?
as long as it's ADA compliant from the elevator down to the west,
It would be?
it would be okay. However, some of the exit doors would probably have to change lane, because you can't go from the corridor through a stairwell and back into a corridor.
Okay,
So that's,
exactly. Those are things we have to.
yeah, I mean, those are simple fixes.
yeah, but it's also going past bedrooms,
Yeah,
Right,
that's kind of weird. That's
which
kinda-
is.
right.
the other
So
thing
there's a lot of
that
things why we
they
don't
have.
want to do that, but, so, and it's about $100,000 for an elevator, which may be good.
As long as the bedrooms are keypad locked, they cannot be open.
The disturbance to them,
What's that?
the noise and.
Oh, yeah.
But how often do we use this elevator? Not,
Well, public meetings, but the.
but you have to have.
But the traffic,
On
the
this
traffic.
one, we have the boardroom downstairs. If I read the plan.
Right, but I think we would, are we required, no, we don't require to have. No,
So,
there's no public accessible areas upstairs.
well, HR's up there, according to this.
No, we can arrange that however we want.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
As long as you cover all the public
So
stuff
we may not have to-
downstairs,
Yeah.
you would be okay.
Yeah, so some of the questions is, does the chief have to be downstairs or upstairs? And so that we can change at any time. We just gotta figure that out. But I think this is a novel idea. I think we could do the construction without moving. We wouldn't have to, lease OPV building for admin.
That's what,
So that saves us $120,000 a year right there. We could do the admin building and then remodel first floor here and then second floor, or second floor and then first floor. So I think this would probably be the cheapest option that we talked about. And again, we're not talking about how we fund it, that's down the road. But what I would like to get from directors is maybe a consensus that we should start, how much does the property owner want for that property? And maybe develop some RFPs for looking at some construction.
I would, if you're looking at that property, at the same time, I'd get the information on what it take to convert across the street into a parking lot.
Yep.
And pave it, so.
Yeah, and get the value of it,
See what the
and
difference
things like
is.
that, absolutely. What's that?
Just see what the difference is.
Yeah.
Again, I agree, if we can put everything, all the public stuff downstairs, that would save us money.
And I'll confirm with the city how many parking spots we actually need, and would they accept across the street like that? I think they would.
Oh, it seems so.
Yeah,
But
and we
when-
could even do partial parking and partial training.
So potential to put power and across the. Could be kind of fun.
we'll just have a safe, crosswalk in the park over there, but by the dog food place.
This is a really good idea.
Yeah,
Feels better than giving OPV $10,000.
Yeah, that's great.
No, I mean, that just seems like.
and I have to give credit to Director Webb, this was his idea.
It's
It
a
was-
great idea, Mike.
I
It
thought
was.
that they designed this building with this in mind, but not necessarily this much.
That meant.
It was another bay.
Just one more bay, but
Yeah.
they had plans to add to the building.
Yes. I don't think we have to move the radio tower, which is right at the corner there. I think that would be fine.
Propane tank may need to be relocated.
Okay, yeah, that would help, something would have to be done with that, but that's above ground, so.
They gotta change the exiting out of the boarding classroom, and that's not correct. Shame on that architect. Should have known that.
Another question, I mean, do we need, so the boardroom now is essentially 2 stories.
Yeah.
Do we need that?
Probably not.
I mean, we could have a much smaller footprint if we use that second floor above the board. offices, we move some of the offices, make it.
Just make sure we don't short ourselves and then we get big about, oh, shoot, we should have made that
What
bigger.
about moving it?
That
Yeah,
only
really.
concern
Close it in.
and trying to minimize.
If I take the same real estate twice.
Yeah.
Needs a lot of bedrooms, but yeah,
Conference rooms.
so it probably wouldn't be,
For future expansion.
yeah, I mean, it's open, so you're not building, no construction costs for that part, but yeah, I mean, you always could, yeah.
And you could always go in and put a ceiling in and maybe
Okay.
before that.
You could put an observation deck or something.
How do we make using across the street for parking?
You want to style it.
Do we have any multi-level parking structures in town?
No,
No, even the condos are all one level.
they're, yeah,
I
basically,
mean, that across the street, you could easily put in 2 levels. Ground floor and.
If we did 2 floors and did the boardroom upstairs, would it be sufficient to put ambulances below 1 or 2? Have a bay for it?
Sure.
see, you keep coming up with these good ideas.
Oh, that would work.
Maybe,
There's no reason why we
Then
have
you'd have to have one, for sure.
but it might be, you just have 1 floor approved and then downstairs would be.
Okay, let me on.
Okay, that's all the word that's good.
And the depth of it looks, looks like it might work. There might be some impediments to driving out of it though.
Well, I mean, what's the height of the tallest medic unit?
Water,
Is it what, is it greater than 12 feet?
No, the problem, see, I think it's
10.6? So, you know, it all depends on how they want to build that, if they want to go with I-beam trusses, or if they want to go parallel board trusses, they could change that height, that's not the,
I will.
and how do you arrange the
just in measure.
beams and
Measurements,
trusses?
I think is all you need is it physically large enough to do that.
Yeah. That's a good size lot.
Right now, the second level, you can put a fire engine. Yeah, so,
Yeah.
go.
We could sit on top of the fire engine burning.
So,
That's making good use of that lot, definitely.
so this is not committing the district or the authority to anything, it's just,
Right.
is this the direction directors feel we should go, this attached to station 1? We'll look at, you know, can we put an ambulance bay, we'll look at, you know, cost of paving across the street. And,
We can do it modular, but we can weigh some different options.
so this, well, I'll tell OPB, we're probably not gonna lease from them, so that gives them an idea. And then we'll find out about properties. So anybody against that, or has other suggestions,
So wait a minute, so not relocate temporarily admin
we would not have to.
At this point.
if you went with this concept?
Yeah.
We would build the admin building and then move admin out once it's finished. Remodel, then we can remodel either first floor or second floor here.
Now, funding.
Well, we're still gonna need. They're still gonna need temporary crew quarters while we do the remodel.
Well, no, if we get admin out, then we can remodel the admin space.
Okay, we'll do them first and then phase it in, and this would be the third phase.
Yes,
Got it.
yes.
Yeah, because they all go to the ground floor, right?
With us.
Down.
You're gonna be there.
What?
There's no be there. Yeah, there'll be measures both floors.
Okay, so the thought of having the crews on the first floor is out?
No, there's still.
There's still
I don't see that.
They just don't have to be in a conference room.
So this is, what's that?
They just don't have to be in a conference room.
Yeah.
If they take that out, yeah, they still have the whole floors.
There'll be 1, 2,
If they
3,
take that out,
Yeah.
take that upstairs, they still have the floors.
four
And then
floors.
this stays where it is.
So again, that's this side, but that's upstairs.
So there's 4 dorms downstairs.
Okay.
And then we would get rid of the murky beds up here.
Yeah, so.
Oh, no, wait a minute, we say offices on the, ground floor. Fire marshal, fire chief, God, I wish they would,
That's the first floor.
right, I wish they would print a little bit larger. For I mean, right, get a.
You think you can read that?
No, I can't. I can read fire marshal. That's easy because I can see one L next to marshal.
So you're guessing.
Yeah, I was guessing.
That's, yeah.
I see coffee bar, but it didn't make
Story.
That was my only requirement.
a conference room. Yeah. Okay, so on the first floor,
That's, yeah, you're looking at the first floor. Level one.
right. So I need to see the other side. There's the apparatus bay. And then where were you saying to? So remove on the first floor, what, to park ambulances in?
Well, where the
Or- So right here, this part right here,
Yeah, that would
I
be,
think that'll be.
Just put the boardroom upstairs instead of,
yeah, that's a great idea. I thought you meant across the street,
No, no,
use the parking,
no,
okay.
and then you probably.
No, that, oh man, you could easily get 3 bays in there.
At
Takes
least
a while to
two,
get
at least
there.
two. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
You have fire engines and you got the quick attack, so you.
Sure, yeah, you could easily put,
And if anything, house the medic crews downstairs because they're busier.
Or,
yeah,
I mean, it gives us a chance to spread out medics around the community so we can be faster
no,
response.
it's great ideas.
Yeah, that's a good
And also
job.
then we'll have bedroom spots.
yeah, I agree.
And then we'll save money on coastal fitness, because I see it's got a fitness room.
Yeah, I saw that too, that.
They still like close it.
Hey Cindy, your phone's got a magnifying glass?
I'm old. I need.
Well,
No, we want a photo
So if
and
you
zoom
want-
in.
My camera?
Yeah, you can put your camera and zoom in.
No, zoom in.
Silly boy.
Oh,
That's just not me doing things like that.
I thought it was a
You just made
separate
me feel better.
app.
It is, mine is.
It is, it's called a
I have a
camera.
magnifier glass.
I can bring it up here.
No, it's okay, so okay, that's cool.
Well, you know what else you can do, you can take a screenshot.
And blow it up.
Something that could do that.
I could just have a magnifying glass.
Talking about anyway.
Don't forget to say that.
Yeah, I think we should, I think you all agree we should sort on finding out.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Go this direction with great ideas.
put a gas grill out there on the patio.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be nice.
Yeah,
You can invite Boomer over for.
Right.
that's right.
Maybe
Right
we'll
next
get-
to my office. Okay.
As long as there's a fire marshal around.
Yeah. Retired.
Yeah. Okay. So we have some policies.
Ask a question about them.
Well, the question of funding is, as far as do we have to decide, or should we be deciding on how we want to fund this before we completely abandon leasing? Because if this isn't a fundable thing and we still need the space, we might lease long term. And then figure
Yeah,
out
good
how to go. So you might just tell them at this point in time, we're not immediately moving, but if we could figure out funding within the next 3 to 6 months, at least a path, then we can make a decision. I think this is a great option.
Yeah. Yeah. I told him we move slowly, so.
He's been on board.
That's true. Yeah, funding, we still have to figure, it, so, which is a huge thing.
But if we can build this for, say, 2 million, 2.5 million, as opposed to 5 million for a new building, it's a wonderful option.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it's, yeah, it was 4 million with the lot development we have to do across the street, so. Yeah, I mean, if we can get closer to the below 3, right, that would be awesome. Yeah. And if we get a ambulance bay out. Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, policies, you have some old policies to review. There's actually just the one policy.
I believe so.
There's one policy, 214, petty cash management, which is was fairly modified. And so we would like a motion from a director, WLFEA director, to accept that policy, 214 petty cash management.
I would move to accept the pay cash management as amended.
Moved by Director Webb, there's a second.
Second.
Second by Director Polisi. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And Lori was an aye. So thank you. Was that the one?
Yeah.
New business. Church wants to spend some money.
So during the budget process, we talked about a new financial system. And so in your packet, starting on page 74, we have a I can't remember what you call this form. Agenda bill to get your permission to move forward with a vendor contract. In your packet, we have 3 vendor quotes. One was for MIP software and it was at 85,000, over 85,000. There was another quote starting on page 102 for Centerpoint through CSA software. And that bill or quote came out to a little over 32,000. And that would be for 3 years of support. And then the last one was for Springbrook. And there were several different quotes totaling well over the 35,000. Our recommendation is to go with Centerpoint.
What is this replacing?
It would currently replace our QuickBooks software. The benefit would be that it is a true fund accounting software. It would also allow us the capability of tracking grants better. And it would also give us the opportunity to bring payroll back in-house.
What do we pay for ADP or whatever we use for payroll? What do we pay for processing?
ADP is well over 5,000 a year. And then QuickBooks, we have to pay 3 times for QuickBooks.
In QuickBooks integration, will it talk to this system? QuickBooks is proprietary, and once you get your data stored, and especially in the cloud, they get kind of honoring as far as going back and retrieving again. So are we gonna have the rights to grab that?
Yeah, that price includes them moving 3 years of data over.
Okay.
It wouldn't be transaction specific, but it would be
Usable?
usable. Yeah, we can still do trend data.
I think it's probably a good idea to grow up like this. I'm not sure about outsourcing as opposed to in-house payroll, just because sometimes it's cheaper to outsource it. That's my take, but we can decide on that later on.
Yeah, so I'm struggling with, we currently have a W-2 issue. And it's taken 2.5 months and it's still not resolved with ADP. And so those kinds of things really bother me because they're out of my control. And it's 2 years in a row that we've had W-2 issues with ADP. So I'm struggling with those, but it's an option, right? We don't have to pay for the payroll part. I think it's like 3,500 for that piece.
Is that an add-on with that letter?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would do that. I would bring the financial software in first. And then if we moved the payroll, we'd do it.
Have you worked with this one before?
I have. And their support, you actually call somebody. They have their CSA is dedicated just to municipalities. That's all they do.
And isn't that widely recognized for larger districts that are used? Because my concern would be QuickBooks is very well known. And if you get a system that, let's say you're gone, that somebody walks in like, what is this?
So
And the ability to translate into that.
So that's why I'm choosing this software, because it's very simple to use. Much more simple than QuickBooks even is. They're actually located in Arkansas. When I went to them prior,
that a lot of times I'd figure out the answer to the question before they called me back the next morning. And they really are responsive. The support there is excellent. You actually talk to somebody who's, you can understand. They handhold, and they're all, because that's all they deal with is government entities. They know how to resolve the problem, even if the staff.
So if we did bring payroll back in, how much would it cost? Because I mean, now you're gonna have to have the personnel on doing 30 and rest to see how much it's actually gonna cost us to do payroll in-house. You know, to pay Holly or whoever
So
to do it.
They're already doing it. And they have, so Holly has to, she figures out payroll with a spreadsheet and then has to go in and adjust everything in, or not QuickBooks, ADP. And so she just override everybody's record for our 7Kers, and to me, that's silly, she's already doing it.
So all ADP at this point is doing is messing up our W-2s and sending out checks.
They have no idea what 7Kers are.
No.
That's okay.
So, but again, it gives us the opportunity to do that. We don't have to do that right away. And so we can gradually, go that route.
I'd make a motion to approve the software selection choice.
Motion by Director Webb, and that was the center point.
Yeah.
There's
I'll
second,
second it.
second by Director Russell. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, one quick question.
Absolutely.
We're gonna need, any new computers for this? Current computers?
Not for this, but we're getting new computers anyway.
Okay, that's, thank you.
Yes. Holly, can you do a roll call vote?
Absolutely. Western Lane Board Director, Cindy Russell,
Yes.
Linda Stent,
Yes.
Adam Holbrook,
Yes.
Vanessa Buss,
Yes.
Mike Webb,
Yes.
SVFR Board Directors, Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Tim Mendolia, David Carrillo,
Yes.
Jim Polisi,
Yes,
Keith Stanton.
Okay, thank you for that. Next is domestic partner coverage of our health insurance. Tricia can talk about that.
Yeah. Okay. On page 121 of your packet, we're not quite sure how this happened. However, one entity, did not allow domestic partner coverage, and one entity did. I can't tell you which one was which. And when the entities moved, we have a feeling that somebody just checked the box for our master coverage plan and to keep it as is. And somewhere in that process, the box that got checked as a no is to allow same-sex domestic partner coverage or opposite-sex domestic partner coverage. And we would like to change that, but it requires a board decision
We would like to change it to allow.
to allow.
well, the law changed, right? Now that domestic partners, it's either way, it's no longer, same sex.
Just curious, what does it take if somebody is a domestic partner? And how long do they have to be cohabitating essentially to qualify for that?
So there's certain requirements. They have to be currently cohabitating. They have to be over 18 years of age. There's a whole list of stuff, and then when they sign that document, it has to be notarized.
Just curious.
Yeah, I just, with my buddy and we're cohabitating,
Yeah.
and then I get free insurance or great insurance. That's a little cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, cohabitating and married to somebody, same thing.
Yeah, the insurance requires a notarized certificate.
So you need a resolution to fix that, or
We just need a vote to allow that change.
so I move that we fix the,
Moved by Director Russell to allow
fix it.
domestic partnerships.
I'll second it.
Is there a second?
I will, maybe.
Second by Director Carrillo. Holly, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Western Lane Board Director Cindy Russell,
Yes.
Linda Stint,
Yeah.
Adam Holbrook,
Yes.
Vanessa Buss,
Yes.
Mike Webb,
Yes.
SPFR Board Directors, Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Tim Mendolia, David Carrillo,
Yes.
Jim Plesey,
Yes.
Keith Stanton.
Okay, thank you. Unanimous. Is the MOU in their board packet?
I should be.
So we submitted two memorandum of understandings to the union. When we do that, then we want to change the contract, current contract. So we had two, one was, and the one that you see in your report packet was to allow paid time off by probationary members. Currently, it says you have to be a member for a year before you can use any of your accrued vacation time. And it's always said that. I don't know why it started out as 12 months, but we have had a few that have run out of sick leave and they can't touch their accrued vacation leave. And they're on leave. So we would like to change that to 90 days instead of 90 days seems to be a very common number.
They begin accruing at day one.
They break. So if they were to leave, we'd have to pay them, but they can't use it.
I made a motion to approve that.
Okay.
Second.
On page 187, yes. Motion to approve by Director Webb,
Second.
second by Director Polisi. Holly, can you do a roll call vote?
Western Lane Board Directors Cindy Russell,
Yes.
Linda Stint,
Yeah.
Adam Holbrook,
Yes.
Vanessa Buss,
Yes.
Mike Webb,
Yes.
SPFR Board Directors Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Tim Mendolia, David Carrillo,
Yes.
Jim Plesey,
Yes.
Keith Stanton.
There was, like I said, there were two MOUs we submitted. The second one was to request that, so all employees get a HRA VIVA, which is funded July 1. And it's either $1,500 or $3,000. And we asked if we could fund it monthly instead of all on July 1. So your
Make a
employee,
motion to fund it monthly.
but
No, wait, no, that's a terrible idea.
they turned down Wax down. Well, they turned it down, so it's not up for.
I mean, just think about it, if I had a major something in July and I only got to use $300, but I could have used my whole 15.
But it doesn't go away, so each month that it gets funded, you can use it for that bill.
And how-
Second thing is, what if you decide to leave on July 2nd?
Then you've already got the whole year's worth of.
So they said no at this time, but they're willing to talk about it during negotiation. So it's not going away. but we will talk.
Still make it.
And the issue is that our firefighters are leaving. The issue is that we've had Wilbur staff leave. And so when the Wilbur staff, because they're a part of it, they take the money with them when they go. And so it actually does hurt our firefighters because we only budgeted a
So there's
certain
an
amount.
expense, yeah. So new policies coming up, those listed. And now, director's comments, any director's comments? Appreciate you all coming tonight. Inside. Oh, I forgot one, sorry, I skipped it. So new business, C, employee handbook, we have a new employee handbook. And that was Deanna McClure's last job for us, was to put together a handbook. And we're trying to, so before what we said was that our staff, the administrative staff, we just referred to the CBA and it didn't always apply, but that's the only thing we had or policy. So we come with the employee handbook. We'd like approval by the board This will be given, you know, CBA would trump anything in there. Policies would trump anything in there, but we've listed the policies as well. So it's to help our newer employees. This is who we are, what we do, and how we do it. Sorry, I understand.
So here's my chance to make a motion.
Yes, you can. You're on.
Well, I got a question. I'm sorry.
Was there a second person?
I'll second it.
Okay. Now discussion.
No, so all of the cross references in the lexical have been double checked?
Yep.
Okay. Double check. In lexical, well, you know, so they meet up.
Yeah, so we had to change. This original template was from SDAO, so we had to change a few things to match our policies.
And so then this will end up in lexicals.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now we can call for the question.
Now, okay. Holly, can you do a roll call?
Western Lane Board Director Cindy Russell,
Yes.
Linda Stent,
Yes.
Adam Holbrook,
Yes.
Vanessa Buss,
Yes.
Mike Webb,
Yes.
SVFR Board Directors Lori Heppel,
Yes.
Tim Mendolia, David Carrillo,
Yes.
Okay, great.
Jim Bahlisi,
Yes.
Keith Stanton.
That's what the budget committee voted on. So, but the budget still has to be adopted. I think I've talked about the budget.
Yeah.
Were you there? You were here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, so it's been approved. Thank you. Now director comments. So that's a good point, just to make sure, so within the budget was a 4% COLA. So the COLA was 2 to 2.5%. We're not adding 4 to that, we're changing that to 4. So
So we don't have to do a memorandum of MO,
no, but
whatever.
we will have to do an MOU. So, but I wanted to make sure the board,
They can turn us down.
they can turn us down. It would not surprise me, but they could.
Who?
The union.
Union wants to. No.
No, it's just-
No.
You can be sarcastic. Okay. Got it.
Any director comments?
I hope that we're, like I suggested, that we get Wendy on the radio to
Yeah,
talk about that and also get the crisis response team more on the radio. I know they're on,
they've been doing a lot of.
yeah, they've been doing a lot.
engagements.
It's really what we can do to make sure the public's aware. So I always thought that there should have been a flyer sent out with like, Slocum and those places over there that says that the MIH is available, because there's so many times that people go over, have surgeries, and then they have to go back, the physician doesn't have to check out.
Bless you.
They, all they're doing is removing sutures or doing something like that, which is something that our MIH could do, and WLFEA are 80+ people going back and forth to Eugene.
That's
Get that advertised with the clinics over there. That she's available to go and do a checkup on.
that is a good idea. I don't know why she couldn't, but yeah. Well,
Yeah, but just to get the word out to those clinics in Eugene that we have this service available to them. And then maybe we'll be able to encourage some billing that way, I don't know. But the more, you know, the clinic's taking advantage of it, maybe we can charge them for, you know, for the services rendered or whatever.
I think we're very close to being able to charge Medicare and Medicaid. They've been talking about it for years, but it's slowly getting to that point where I think we can. And that will help a lot.
All insurances should be on board.
Yeah.
It's just,
They are until it comes up, well, this is how much it's gonna cost. And, let's talk about it.
Yeah, well, that was all I did this beginning meetings with Chris was to prove the numbers, and I thought that's what we were mainly meeting for. I think it was quarterly we were meeting and with all of the administration, and also I think we had some of the people from the insurance companies coming to that, and maybe we need to start those up again so that it's thrown in their face.
Yeah,
I agree.
no, absolutely.
For sharing information.
Cheaper to pay us.
Sharing
front than it is.
Strong encouragement
Educate them.
consider. and consider.
Any other comment, director comments? So next meeting, I'll be out of town, Chief House will be out of town, so Chief Chance is going to be. Whoa. All right.
Big dog in town.
We should
Welcome to the
announce
show.
about, David's award to make sure everybody saw that David's.
David Rossi is receiving an award from the Oregon Fire Chiefs Association. That is May 2nd, it's in Bend.
Very nice.
I don't think it's gonna be videoed or something, somebody can hold a phone or something. But we do have several people who are going over, which is great, there's a luncheon. And, really, that was, Chief Chance put in the nomination, so that was, thanks Rob for doing that. It's just another way we can honor a great person.
When's this last day of duty?
August 1. On or around August 1st. And he's taking the Vivo with him.
Hey, good
We actually talked about it a lot. It impacts one person. We can't do that to him. So,
He's only put, what, 40 years in?
exactly.
Just
Okay.
getting started.
That's also the hearing.
Yeah, next month is the budget hearing, and the board, this board, WLFEA board will adopt the budgets. And see for okay, we are done. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jim, look at your phone.
I did. Look at yours.
No, it's a good idea.
What's it?